Now, from Western North Carolina's news leader, this is News 13 at noon.
Right now, we are tracking Hurricane Michael as it inches closer to the Florida Panhandle. This is a live picture from Panama City Beach. Michael is about 50 miles offshore, but the impacts are already being felt. The storm is a Category 4 with wind speeds now up to 150 miles per hour. That's kicking up strong winds and huge waves and storm surge across the Panhandle in areas especially like Apalachicola and Laguna Beach. We have live team coverage this noon of Hurricane Michael. We'll take you live to the Florida Gulf Coast in just a minute. But first, News 13 meteorologist Ingrid Alstead has been on the storm's track. Ingrid, when do we expect landfall now?
In just a number of hours. So a Category 4 storm right now with wind speeds at 150 miles per hour. It has continued to strengthen each and every hour as we've gone through this morning. And it right now is going to continue to get closer and closer to the beaches along the Panhandle of Florida. In fact, it's only 50 miles away right now, the eye of the storm, which is very clear here in our tropical satellite, 50 miles away from Panama City. So we're going to continue to track this as we go throughout the next couple of hours as it does make landfall. After that, it then heads inland into Georgia, South Carolina, and then eastern portions of North Carolina. On the western side of that path is the western North Carolina mountains. That's good news for us. So we'll still feel some impacts, but not going to feel major impacts. Flash flood watch is in effect right now for Buncombe County. Areas in our southern zones, eastern zones, as well as the upstate as well until Thursday evening. So we have all today and tomorrow to worry about. We'll talk much more about how many inches of rain could fall coming up in my full forecast in just a few minutes. Now back over to you.
Maggie Rulli continues our live coverage from Panama City Beach, Florida. She's joining us from where Hurricane Michael is expected to make landfall sometime this afternoon. Maggie, the wind is really intensified there. The power is out in some areas, and it's just downright dangerous.
We are right in the center of Michael's path, and the wind speeds here have been increasing by the minute. Officials warned that if you did not evacuate, now it is too late. Officials are warning everyone in Michael's path. This could be the worst storm they've ever seen.
Hurricane Michael is forecast to be the most destructive storm to hit the Florida Panhandle in a century.
Overnight, Michael becoming a powerful Category 4 that just keeps growing stronger.
You can hear, if you stop for a moment, the roaring Gulf of Mexico behind me. It is so eerie knowing that that Category 4 storm is now about 100 miles to our south.
Seen from space, this hurricane is intimidating, stretching some 400 miles with winds topping 140 miles per hour and a storm surge expected to be as high as 13 feet.
Anybody that doesn't evacuate that experiences storm surge doesn't typically live to tell about that story.
FEMA rushing to mobilize against the fast-moving storm.
This one popped up on the radar screen basically Saturday morning.
An extra 1,000 utility workers brought in from out of state are on standby, as more than 375,000 Florida residents were told to evacuate.
Remember, we can rebuild your house, but we cannot rebuild your life. Take this seriously. Keep your family safe.
Those who stayed behind now have no other choice but to stay in place and ride out the storm.
I just feel like you're safer if you just stay put and batten down the hatches.
As neighbors are left to lean on each other for survival.
We're all in this together. We're one giant family.
This storm's being compared to a buzzsaw. It is hitting hard and it's hitting fast. Right now, it's the storm surge and these high winds that have authorities the most concerned. Maggie Rulli, ABC News, Panama City Beach, Florida. Back to you.
North Carolina is staring down another powerful hurricane. Less than a month after Hurricane Florence battered our state. This time, we'll be spared the full wrath of the storm, but heavy rain and tropical storm force winds are headed our way.
Governor Roy Cooper speaking just a short time ago, declaring a state of emergency for North Carolina ahead of Michael. He warned people in areas hit hardest by Florence to be prepared. He said the state legislature will reconvene for a special session on Monday to discuss more funding to help with hurricane recovery. Here in the mountains, many volunteers are working overtime to keep up with the demand for donations for the victims of Florence and soon Michael. Volunteers at Hearts with Hands in Asheville are working nonstop to fill boxes. Clifton Bradley says people here have been generous. He hopes that doesn't stop once Hurricane Michael hits.
We're definitely going to need food and your hygiene stuff, your deodorant, your shampoos, all your personal hygiene stuff. Just basically the same thing that we needed in the first hurricane.
Bradley says the organization will also need more volunteers to help sort supplies. Right now, Hearts with Hands is not sure when it will set up in Florida after Michael hits. Once volunteers find out, we will let you know. You know, it's been almost a month since Hurricane Florence, and there's still a staggering number of roads in North Carolina that remain closed. According to the DOT, 81 roads are still not passable. 13 of them are primary roads. 68 are secondary, mostly in the eastern and Piedmont regions. Rodney and Michelle Foland live less than a mile from a gaping hole on Clyde King Road in Randolph County.
It's affected a lot of us around here where it just take 4 miles. Now we're going, I think, 7 or 8 miles to get to somewhere.
And I work at night, so it's terrible because deer are awful out here. And the back roads, the only road you have to take is curvy, twisted road.
DOT workers say some of the roads could remain closed through mid-November. Stay with News 13 both on air and online for continuing coverage of Hurricane Michael. We will have another live picture from Florida coming up in just a few minutes. We will also have the latest track of where the storm is expected to head next. You can receive breaking news and weather alerts straight to your phone. Just search WLOS in your app store. All new this hour today, crews from across the eastern part of the country are helping in the restoration of the Basilica of St. Lawrence. News 13's Liz Birch joins us live from downtown Asheville. Liz, this is a huge undertaking.
Yeah, it absolutely is. They're in the discovery phase right now, and I want to show you what that looks like. Look up there. He's just about to start rappelling down the side of the building. They'll be assessing exactly what restorations this church needs. Vertical Access, the company based in New York, started the process with a drone. They were flying it inside and outside of the famous church, which was a pretty surreal sight to see inside of a more than century-old religious landmark. They're looking for structural problems and leaks inside. Outside, the drone was used to look at how well the building is withstanding weather. Architect Joseph Opperman is overseeing the restoration project as a whole. He and his firm work exclusively with historic buildings. He says this is a special restoration project to be a part of, in part because the renowned Spanish architect Rafael Gustavino is responsible for the unique and incredible design.
Obviously it's different. It's Spanish Baroque style of architecture that makes it stand out. But most importantly is when you go inside, it is absolutely spectacular.
Gustavino immigrated to America from Barcelona. He came to Asheville to work on the Biltmore and ended up staying. Some of his other famous projects include Grand Central Station and Carnegie Hall. He's famous for his intricate work with tile. So as you can see from looking at the top of the building right now, their next stop is going to be rappelling down, which I know I'm really excited to see in person. After they're done with that on Friday, they'll use infrared technology to take a look at how the weather is impacting the building. You can watch our full story tonight at 6 o'clock right here on News 13. But for now, live in Nashville, Liz Birch, News 13.
Midterm elections are less than a month away, but the deadline to register to vote in North Carolina is at the end of this week. We caught up with some people registering who say they're concerned about the current political climate. But according to the latest numbers from the Buncombe County Board of Elections, voter registration has not changed much for Democrats or Republicans. The number of unaffiliated voters has increased. We won't know until Election Day, though, how much impact that's going to have.
Even though it doesn't feel like you're making a monumental difference, you're still part of a difference happening.
The final day to register to vote is Friday. Midterms are November 6th. Former Vice President Joe Biden says he does not plan to run for president, for now at least. Biden was speaking at an event in London. He was talking about the current slate of Democratic presidential hopefuls when he said he wasn't planning to throw his hat in the ring.
I think there are many people in the Democratic Party that can defeat Trump, and not a single aspiring candidate that I can think of for the nomination, and I am not one at this point.
The former vice president said previously he will decide whether to pursue a presidential bid after the midterm elections. Change of heart. Walgreens backtracks on a promise to its employees, what the company is doing with its benefit packages. New research on breastfeeding, how it can reduce the amount of stress your baby may experience. Hurricane Michael is hovering off the coast of the Florida Panhandle with an expected landfall just a short time from now. This is a live picture from Port St. Joe. That's just west of Apalachicola. You can see the wind and rain really whipping up there. Wow. Gillette gets a break from the White House. The Trump administration is giving the shaving giant an exemption from the 25% tariffs that's been placed on imported steel. For more than 2 decades, Gillette has been importing steel from a Swedish company because it says it couldn't find the correct kind of steel in the U.S. A statement says Gillette has developed a specialized steel with that company that is the key to its success. Walgreens is cutting some employee benefits after announcing a $100 million paid boost. The company will eliminate health insurance for most of its retirees. Just this year, the company said it would increase hourly wages for store employees, but starting in 2019, employees won't qualify for paid time off unless they work at least 30 hours. A Walgreens spokesperson said the raise went into effect October 1st. Massive flooding in other parts of the world, where the death toll now stands as people scramble to safety.
Here's a look at the storm risk from Michael back here in the mountains. A moderate risk for flooding and slides. Less of a problem will be wind and power outages. Coming up after the break, I'm going to show you where the heaviest rain could fall, where the strongest wind can be felt, and what you can expect behind this system as we head into the weekend. Stay with us.
It's Henry.
Other parts of the world are also dealing with heavy rain and flooding. We have some video out of Spain. Heavy flooding has killed at least 8 people and more are feared dead. Torrential rains are causing flash flooding on a Spanish island. At least 3 towns have closed schools and hundreds of people are being sheltered in sports facilities and a local dome theater. The prime minister of that area is expected to fly in and survey damage. At least 5 people are dead in northern India after a train partially derailed. 35 passengers were hurt and taken to the hospital. Buses took others to a safe location. The derailment happened when the train was entering the station zone, but it's still unclear what caused the accident. We continue to track Hurricane Michael. That is a powerful Category 4 storm with 150-mile-per-hour winds. This is a live look now at Destin, Florida.
Now, your News 13 Skywatch weather.
And that storm has continued to strengthen each hour. You can see the pressure has continued to drop and the wind speeds have continued to rise 150 miles per hour. That's up from 145 earlier this morning. And you can see the eye. It is very clear here on the tropical satellite imagery. It's moving closer and closer now to the panhandle of Florida. Panama City is now only 40 miles away from there. And some locations even closer. You can see right here, the beaches there. Really dangerous conditions in those spots right now. Even though it hasn't technically made landfall, it's still going to be catastrophic here imminently in those spots. As we look ahead into the next couple of hours, it will be making landfall. So stay with us here. Of course, if we're not online or if we're not on air, online on Facebook, we will show you when this thing is making landfall. It then impacts parts of Georgia into South Carolina as we head into tomorrow morning and then eventually into eastern North Carolina. Once again, the general path hasn't changed. Now the intensity has changed. We initially thought it would be a 3 and now it's a 4 and potentially a 5. So we will continue to watch that, but at least we're on the right side of this storm. Now, areas farther south in the upstate, there's a tropical storm warning out for Abbeville and Lawrence counties and Greenwood as well because of that chance for some really strong winds in those locations. Right now in Asheville, we're just looking at the shower chance. Eastern portions of our viewing area, McDowell County, areas around Old Fort, they have seen a couple of inches of rain already today, so there is a minor flood risk as we head into this afternoon with heavier rain expected in those locations. Here's a closer look now at the flash flooding potential all across areas in yellow. We do have a moderate chance through Thursday to see flash flooding occur. Inches of rain will likely fall, and some locations, as I mentioned, have already seen some of that heavy rain. So added on top of that, we could see up to 3 inches in areas like McDowell County, Rutherford County, Polk County. Eastern side of Buncombe County will see some heavier rain, and I think areas farther west won't see quite as much rain. Here's a look at the Futurecast model through 1 o'clock this afternoon, continuing to see those showers mainly east of I-26. But watch as we head into tonight. The rain chance really starts to increase. Here's 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's going to be a dicey morning commute, but by lunchtime things start to calm down and clear out pretty quickly as we head into Friday. Windy conditions expected mainly tomorrow. Here's 8 a.m. on Thursday. Windy conditions farther south. Wind picks up here in the mountains as we head into late day tomorrow. Some locations, especially those higher elevation spots, can see wind anywhere from 25, potentially up to 30 miles per hour. Isolated power outages cannot be ruled out. Today we're looking at that good chance for rain, cloudy skies and temperatures staying in the low 70s. 7-day forecast shows weather worn days today and tomorrow. Beyond that, things dramatically change. We're looking at sunnier conditions, clear skies as we head into the weekend. A cool down as well as temperatures drop down in the morning hours to the 40s, even through next week, Holly.
Fall will arrive.
It will indeed.
Another reason why breastfeeding your baby is beneficial.
New research just out that shows how genes and stress can affect your child.
New research is out suggesting breastfeeding makes babies less reactive to stress. Barbara Silva reports the changes that happen in the child's genes.
This is telling us that maternal behavior changes gene activity.
Dr. Barry Lester is talking about his latest research published in the journal Pediatrics. In all, 42 women took part for 5 months.
There were 21 who exclusively breastfed and 21 who did not.
Dr. Lester wanted to see if what has been shown in animal studies happens in humans.
In the animal work, they found that if you have mothers who do a lot of good mommies, right, licking, grooming, archback nursing, right, moms who do a lot of that, their babies have changes in the genes.
Positive changes. So in his research, he conducted a still face experiment like this one posted on YouTube. Including that video in an online version of the journal, he explains that when mom interacts with the infant, baby is happy.
Now watch what happens when the mother becomes non-responsive. The infant gets upset.
What he did before and after this program was do a DNA cheek swab to check for changes in gene activity responsible, in part, for regulating stress.
If the moms breastfed a lot, then there was more activity in this gene, which resulted in reducing the amount of cortisol that the baby was exposed to.
It's all epigenetics, which helps describe the way our environment and lifestyle influence our genes, which makes this research important.
I mean, I'm thrilled because of the way it potentially opens the door for interventions, treatments that are biologically based.
Southwestern Community College is in the running to win a $50,000 ultrasound machine, and you can help get it. One of the machines in the sonography program is dated with buttons missing. SCC entered a Facebook contest and was randomly picked as one of the 3 finalists to win the new machine. Instructors and students say a new one is badly needed.
So we actually offer free scans to the public, and it would be really nice to have a new machine so we can make sure we're doing like the accurate diagnosis.
By having another ultrasound machine, we'll have more lab time for our students. They'll be able to use that time more efficiently.
A college in California and community college in Alabama are the other 2 schools competing for it. The winner will be the school that gets the most likes. So you have until October 12th to click your likes for SCC. We will post the link at WLOS.com. Still to come at noon, schools are trying to recover from Hurricane Florence. The timeline of when they will reopen for students. Tonight at 5, a trip to a haunted house ends with a trip to the hospital for one group of co-workers. How authorities say a woman ended up stabbing her own friend.
Don't miss the hot tub.
Welcome back. Coming up on 1226, Hurricane Michael is hovering off the coast of the Florida Panhandle with an expected landfall just a short time from now. This is a live picture from near Apalachicola, where powerful wind and rain from the Category 4 storm are already having impacts. Ingrid's monitoring Michael's track. It's going to have the very latest for us coming up in just a few minutes at the top of the half hour. Schools in the eastern part of the state continue to recover from Hurricane Florence, and many remain closed to students. Pender County schools have announced that the doors will hopefully reopen October 18th. The school board says more repairs and inspections are needed, but the county has run out of money. The damage in Pender County was extensive. Officials believe more than any other county.
We have preliminary figures of somewhere between $8.5 and $10 million worth of repairs, and that does not include the contents of the buildings.
School leaders say they cannot combine students from different schools into fewer buildings because of the number of students. Right now, only 2 schools in the county are operating normally. A massive response from the American Red Cross, the aid going to some of the most effective areas of Hurricane Michael. An iconic building in downtown Asheville is getting a facelift. Coming up, what's going into the restoration process at the Basilica.